Hey there Retro Games fans, this is Andy T from Piece of Paper. Welcome to this week's video. For those of you who watch my channel, you'll know that this month we've been living with Windows 95 again as it celebrates its 30th birthday since it was launched way back in August of 1995. And I've talked to you a little bit about its general impact and my memories of it, and I've talked to you a little bit about how to get it installed if you're interested in going back and playing it. And then next week we'll also be talking about what it's been like to live with again after 30 years. But Windows 95 wasn't just a new operating system at the time, it was the start of a whole new era for PC gaming, and suddenly we had the hardware, we had the graphics and the software support to make gaming on computers absolutely mainstream. And basically from real-time strategy through to dungeon crawls, puzzle adventures, first-person shooters, this was the decade where PC gaming really took off. So what we're going to do today is we're going to count down the top 10 Windows 95 must-have games. So if you're going to go back and revisit Windows 95, these are the games I think you need to have in your library that you need to go and have another look at. And I've rated these by sort of a balance of kind of mainly their critical acclaim, but also sales, and the impact that they've had on modern gaming today. So they might not be the best sellers, but their impact has been massive. So whether you were fragging aliens at a LAN party or whether you were staying up way too late chasing loot, then these are the games that really defined an era. So let's get started and kick in at number 10. So kicking off the list at number 10, it's SimCity 2000, developed by Maxis. Originally launched in 1993, so not technically a Windows 95 game, but it really found its stride on Windows 95. And this was the city builder that made millions feel like mayors, following on from the original from the 1980s, which really laid the foundation for these city sim style games. You laid down roads, zones, power lines, and watch your population grow or riot when things went wrong, and you had the ability to drop the occasional natural disaster and destroy all the wonderful things that you had created. Critics gave it really strong reviews, praising its depth, addictive loop of building and balancing. It sold over 4 million copies across platforms, cementing the series as one of the most important PC franchises of the 1990s. Obviously spawned a number of sequels, SimCity 3000, SimCity 4, and eventually The Sims, of course. And this grew out of Maxis's experimentation with simulation. So if you owned a Windows 95 machine, chances are SimCity 2000 was a staple on your machine and a game that you could just lose hours to tweaking your dream city. And obviously its impact can still be felt. We had games like the relaunched SimCity, which we should probably not really talk about, but obviously City Skylines, which is a fantastic entry in the genre some years later. Just a shame, really, that Maxis is no longer a publisher and that really EA need to explain themselves a little bit on their last attempt at SimCity. But a fantastic game, and yeah, definitely one that should be in your box if you are on Windows 95. In at number 9, we've got Riven, which is the ambitious sequel to Myst, released in 1997 by Cyan and published by Red Orb Entertainment. Riven took the mysterious puzzle adventure formula and cranked everything up to 11. Environments were jaw-droppingly detailed for the time, and the puzzles were integrated seamlessly into its strange alien worlds. Reviewers praised it as a true evolution of the genre. Scores sat comfortably in the 80s and 90s, and it sold over 4.5 million copies, which is massive for a puzzle adventure. Its impact was cultural as much as technical. Riven showed how games could be art, blending storylines, visuals, and brain-teasing gameplay. It cemented Myst as one of the best-selling franchises of the era and proved Windows 95 as a platform for more than just shooters and strategy. For me, this game is one of the most beautiful games ever made, and certainly at the time in the 90s, it just blew my socks off. I love it. It's so pretty, it's so well thought out, and there just was nothing else like it. It was a totally unique game. It was incredibly challenging, and it just looked absolutely gorgeous. I love how it looks, how it plays, and obviously there's a lot of pre-rendering that goes on to get those fabulous graphics, but that really didn't matter. And I love this sequence you're seeing at the moment. I love these sort of cutaway sequences as you travel around across the islands to play the game. So it is absolutely fabulous, and I love it. So you should definitely go check it out. And the sequels are fun too. I really enjoyed the sequels, but for me, Riven is just the peak of this puzzle game genre. So there you go. That is Riven from Cyan. Okay, so coming in at number 8, it's Star Wars X-Wing vs TIE Fighter, released in 1997 by LucasArts. The earlier X-Wing and TIE Fighter games were already beloved. I certainly absolutely love them. Remember playing those very, very fondly. But this one was built from the ground up for multiplayer, and for the first time you and your friends could dogfight online, flying for the Rebel Alliance or the Empire. And to be honest with you, I quite like the Empire craft, because that TIE Advance, that was the one to have. It was the best ship in the game, and it's just classic Star Wars starfighter fun. It's just brilliant. Reviews were strong, mostly in the 80s, though some critics did wish that it had a little bit more single player depth, and I would agree with that too. But there was a bit, it was fine. Commercially, it only sold around 500,000 units, making it a little bit more niche than the biggest PC hits. But for Star Wars fans, such as myself, it was a dream come true. Its legacy really lies in how it pushed PC gaming online. So games like Elite Dangerous and Star Wars Squadrons can trace all of their DNA back to X-Wing vs TIE Fighter. And for Windows 95 players, it was one of the first real tastes of living the Star Wars fantasy with friends. I'm really surprised that this game didn't sell more. I think it is just fabulous, and I really enjoyed it. And I love how it looked at the time. It just looked great. Obviously, maybe just ignore the tragic frame rate that I got when I recorded this earlier. But and this is just the first mission as well. I will talk to you a little bit next week when I talk about Windows 95 and what it's been like to live with in respect of this game, because I did have some fun getting back to playing this one again. But I will tell all next week, so stay tuned for that. So there you go. That is X-Wing vs TIE Fighter in at number 8. Okay, at number 7, this is a game that needs no introduction. This is Doom, or more specifically Doom 95, which was a version that was created for Windows 95 based on the 1993 release. In 1996, IDE Software teamed up with Microsoft to launch this special Windows 95 edition. It wasn't a new game, but it was a huge deal because it made the world's most influential first-person shooter much easier to install and run on modern PCs. And you can see my playthrough in the bit between from a couple of weeks back on this, and it is just a fantastic game. Well, the game itself, pure legend, right? Fast-paced shooting, iconic demons, and levels that felt like labyrinths of chaos. It was just epic. Critics gave it near perfect scores every time, and Doom in all its forms went on to be downloaded and copied tens of millions of times. Its legacy is utterly unmatched. It's without Doom, there's no Quake, there's no Call of Duty, there's no Halo. Doom 95 showed that Windows wasn't just for spreadsheets, it was for gaming too, and for countless players, this was their first taste of PC gaming glory. It was for me. I played this on the DOS 486 back in the day, and I played it again on Windows 95, and I liked the fact that you didn't have to fiddle about with graphics settings, you didn't have to fiddle about with sound cards or joysticks or any of those things. It was just installed, and it was quick to load, and it was easy to play, and you could play the shareware version as well, and there was plenty of play in the shareware version. You didn't necessarily need to go and buy the full thing to really experience Doom without paying anything at all. So there you go, that is Doom 95, based on the original 1993 Doom. So a little bit of a cheek, because it's not really technically a Windows 95 game, but yeah, it deserves its place in this list. It was a must-have. If you got Windows 95, this was a must-have. Sliding in at number 6 is Command & Conquer, released in 1995 by Westwood Studios and published by Virgin Interactive. This is the real-time strategy game that put the genre on the map. You commanded the Global Defense Initiative, or the Brotherhood of Nod, battling over the mysterious resource known as Tiberium. Reviewers were just glowing, scoring it in the high 80s and 90s. It sold millions of copies and set the stage for an RTS empire. Players loved the mix of fast action, base building, and those cheesy but fun full motion video cutscenes. Honestly, go check them out. They are very cheesy. Its legacy is massive. It kicked off a long-running franchise with Red Alert, Tiberian Sun, and beyond. And to be honest with you, Red Alert is probably where I really played it the most. I had to come back and have another look at Command & Conquer, because if you go onto any website and say, what game should you play on Windows 95, this game always features in any list, pretty much any list anyway. So I had to go and give it another look, despite the fact that I probably played the sequel a little bit more than this one. But Command & Conquer, let's face it, it was the reason to own a Windows 95 PC at the time. It proved real-time strategies could be cinematic and endlessly replayable, and I love this sort of thing. And really, you couldn't play these sorts of games on a console; it just didn't work. So it really was the place to play it. Windows 95 on your PC, mouse and keyboard. That was the way to go. Absolutely fantastic game, and what a great franchise. And at number 6 there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Waiting orders.
So at number 5, it's Warcraft 2 Tides of Darkness, released in 1995 by Blizzard Entertainment. A theme you might start to spot in these last few now, but more on that later. Building on the original Warcraft, this sequel really refined the formula. It had slicker graphics, it got big maps, more polished storytelling. Humans and orcs clashing in this fantasy world was what it was all about, and critics gave it rave reviews, averaging well into the 90s, and it went on to sell more than 3 million copies. The multiplayer scene was absolutely thriving, and it laid the groundwork for Blizzard's dominance in the real-time strategy space. And the series, of course, would later explode into World of Warcraft, one of the most successful games of all time. And the DNA is right there in Warcraft 2. If you were on Windows 95 and you wanted epic battles and addictive strategy, Warcraft 2 was a must-have. What a massive impact this game had. You just couldn't avoid it. It was huge. And to be honest with you, whilst you may not have played Warcraft 2, everybody has heard of World of Warcraft, and this really is where it started. This game is what made it important. This game is what went on to basically cement Blizzard as just a monster, a huge, huge player in this space. So yes, well deserving at number 5, and only at number 5. It makes you wonder, really, doesn't it? What have we got in the top 4?
Move by your command. By your command. Your command. Yes.
Number 4 is Quake 2, released in 1997 by ID Software, their second entry into my top 10 list here. This was less of a sequel to Quake, more of a fresh sci-fi shooter with new tech powering it. You fought as a lone marine against the alien Strogg, blasting through futuristic environments with fast and fluid gameplay. For anybody who knows this game, it's just amazing. Critics loved it. It scored in the 90s consistently, and it sold millions worldwide. The multiplayer scene was huge. Quake 2 became a LAN party staple and a showcase for the power of 3D accelerator cards. And you can just see the difference. Its impact can't be overstated. Quake 2 massively bridged that gap between Doom and the competitive shooter era, bearing in mind that Doom was only 4 years before it. It looks like they are almost decades apart, and ID Software just knew how to do FPS at this point. And you know, Quake was great. Quake 2, absolutely fantastic. And of course it paved the way for Quake 3 Arena, influencing every FPS that really followed it. For Windows 95 owners, it was the ultimate flex for your new graphics card, and you would regularly see Quake as the benchmark. So whenever you were looking at a magazine or on the web and looking at benchmark stats for a graphics card, it would almost always talk about how Quake 2 played and how good it was. So that is Quake 2, an absolute phenomenon, and the highest in terms of FPS in our list. What a game. Definitely go check it out. Taking the number 3 spot, we've got Age of Empires, released in 1997 by Ensemble Studios and published by Microsoft. And this is a real favourite of mine. This real-time strategy based classic took the Command and Conquer formula and it added historical flavour, letting you guide civilizations all the way from the Stone Age through to the Iron Age, and in some of the expansions, all sorts of different eras as well. Critics praised it for its depth and educational angle. Not that I really cared about the educational aspect of it, scoring it highly in the high 80s and 90s. Commercially, it was a smash. It sold over 3 million copies, and expansions and sequels would dominate the RTS market for years to come. Some of you might argue that Command & Conquer deserves to be higher than this, and I think that would be a fair point. For me, I just think this game was just brilliant. And the important thing about this game is that it spawned Age of Empires 2, which many people would argue is a timeless classic. A lot of people still play it today and is largely considered one of the best RTS games ever made. We have modern remasters of that and competitive communities even now in 2025. But back in Windows 95, in the 95 era, this was the strategy game that made history. Fun and addictive. Not that I really cared about that educational part and that history part, but I just love this game. I love the way it plays. I love the way it looks. And really, for me, this was one of the first games that had that sort of real-time strategy element to it and that kind of point and click that you couldn't really get from playing on a console. So, yes, that is my pick for number 3. And I can completely understand if you think it's in the wrong place, but, well, it's my list. So I will do what I want. I absolutely love Age of Empires, and you should absolutely go check it out if you get an opportunity to. Probably check out number 2. But this is also absolutely fantastic. At number 2, it is another Blizzard masterpiece, and that masterpiece is StarCraft, released in 1998. It just about squeaks in as a Windows 95 game. It came out just before Windows 98 appeared, so it still can make the list officially. And it's another real-time strategy, and it wasn't just about building bases and armies, it was about asymmetry. The Terrans, the Zerg, the Protoss all played completely differently, but were perfectly balanced, and this is a fantastic game. Now, I will be completely honest with you, I didn't play loads of StarCraft, but I am absolutely aware of it. I played it a bit, and I am absolutely aware of its impact, and it just had to be high in this list. Again, if you go out to the web and say, what games do you play, what were the best games on Windows 95, this game will feature highly in a lot of lists, if not all lists. So Blizzard, just at this point, just bossing it. They just were at their peak at this period of time. And StarCraft's brilliant. I love the sci-fi element of this. I mean, it's not a million miles different from Warcraft in a lot of ways, or Age of Empires, or Command & Conquer. There's a lot of similarity in a lot of ways as to how you play this game, but there was just something about this which I loved. I love the vibe of it. I just love the way that it plays, the way it looks. I love that sci-fi element to it. It just is. It's just really good fun, and I think it's something that's aged quite well. I think it still looks quite neat. I think it's still quite trendy and fun. So yeah, I think a game that still holds up today and is definitely worth another look. So there you go, another Blizzard absolute classic, and yeah, that is our number 2 pick for my top 10 Windows 95 games. So let's go and have a look now at what I think is the number 1 game that you should have on Windows 95.
Fire it up. Yes. Let's move. Yes.
Go,
Fire it up.
Stand in
Yes.
Standing back.
And finally, here we go at number 1. And proving my previous point that Blizzard were absolutely at the top of their game. And if you go out to any website, if you go out to anybody talking about what games you should absolutely have in your Windows 95 list, Diablo is there, and it is pretty much at the top of that list. So this is it. This is Diablo, released in 1996 by Blizzard, and that is almost becoming a stuck record moment. Just fantastic. It is a dark gothic action RPG, and it drops you into the cursed town of Tristram, and essentially you hack, slash and loot your way through randomly generated dungeons. Critics adored it, reviews averaging in the mid-90s. It sold over 2.5 million copies, so not the best seller on this list, but that doesn't matter. What hooked players was the addictive loop of combat, loot, online co-op through Blizzard's Battle.net service, which was well established by this point, and its impact obviously is enormous. Everybody's heard of Diablo. It set the template for an entire genre, led to Diablo 2, 3 and 4, and inspiring countless imitators. For Windows 95, this was the ultimate must-have game that made you lose hours, nights, entire weekends chasing that next piece of gear. And it wasn't just a game, it was a revolution, and people loved it. They absolutely lapped it up. Incredible game, and loads of fun to play. I'd almost forgotten about it in some ways. I hadn't played it for a long time, and obviously as part of this review I wanted to go out there, I did my research, I had a look to see, you know, what games are in there, and I was like, oh yeah, Diablo, yeah, I forgot about that, and I almost completely forgotten how to play it. I hadn't looked at it for years, and I come back and I was just instantly hooked again. It was just fantastic. And I mean, yeah, a lot of people lost a lot of time to this. I didn't probably play it as much as some. A lot of Blizzard games I just weren't on my radar back then, but this, when I did play this, I remember how much fun it was. I remember how good it looked, how fluid it was, and yeah, it's so worthy of that title, not least because of its impact. When we think about its impact and the Diablo games that came after it, was just fantastic, and hopefully you all agree with that. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts, but let's pop back over now, and I'm just going to give you my final thoughts on my top 10. So there you go, that's the list. The games that I think every Windows 95 person owner should go check out, and they were the games I think you just couldn't ignore. So whether that's the Dungeons of Diablo through to the Galactic Battles of StarCraft, each one of these titles really left a mark and an impact that you can still feel today, and that's why I wanted to include them. You know, when you look at some games like SimCity 2000 or Doom, you could argue that they didn't really fit into that Windows 95 category. SimCity 2000 basically found its stride in Windows 95, so that's why I included that there. That's when it kind of went, you know, big. And Doom 95, of course, although it is the same game as the original 1993 Doom, I think that Windows 95 treatment that allowed you to install it and get all those settings in there just made it so much easier and more accessible, and that's what Windows 95 really was trying to do, or trying to create. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear if you think that I've missed the game, or if you think maybe you would have ordered it maybe slightly differently. Are there some games that you played that you think aren't on that list, or maybe some hidden gem that I didn't include? There could be so many, you know, and I was even contemplating putting in some of the games that come with Windows, you know, the pinball game, or perhaps Solitaire, because despite them being very simple games, people played them a lot and they were good little time sponges. But, you know, I decided against it for many reasons, not least because these 10 games in here that I think I've picked are just fabulous, and even if you think I've missed some games or they're in the wrong order, I'd like to think that you'd agree that the games that I've picked here are fantastic. And I went out to the web and I did my research, and I just had a look around to see what the sort of forums were saying, what the reviews were saying, the sales figures, all of those things, and kind of mashed all that together to come up with this list. And the internet seems to agree with what I've said in terms of those top 10 games, especially the games like Diablo, StarCraft, that kind of thing. You'll just see them on every list out there. But, you know, drop your comments below, and there might be some games that maybe slightly predated Windows 95, or some games that came slightly later in 98, and there were some 98 games. There are some crackers in 98 as well, so maybe I'll do that again for one a video later on in the future. We'll see. But yeah, needless to say, if you enjoyed this countdown, obviously don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Do really appreciate your support, as I always say. So you know, I might do some more deep dives in the future, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. So please do keep your ears to the ground on that. Coming up in the channel, I'm up to Blackpool in a couple of weeks' time now, I guess. Well, just a little over a week's time. Up to the Play Expo. I'd love to see you up there. Come and say hello. I'm not exhibiting or anything, and I'll just be there to soak up the atmosphere and see what it's got to offer. So if you're in the UK and you happen to be going to the Blackpool Play Expo, come and say hello to me, and I will have my merchandise on, so you should be able to spot me with my piece of 8-bit pirate on. And yeah, we'll also next week, of course, be talking about what it's been like to live with Windows 95 for the last month. It has been an interesting month, but I will save that for next week, and you can come and find out what I thought about it. Obviously, go check out my install video if you're interested in getting back into it, and my memories of Windows 95 from last week, when I talk a little bit about how Windows 95 came to be and how it got launched and what my memories of it were back 30 years ago when it came out. So lots of things going on, lots of things to check out. Obviously keep an eye open for the Bit Between for next Wednesday and my Monday Minute. And yeah, that's probably all I'm going to say for today. So that just leaves me to say, please do all take care of yourselves. I will see you in the next one. And yeah, bye for now.